like to call to order the Bloomington Historic Preservation Committee for October 26th in Gloria. Or actually, Dee, would you do the roll call for us, please?
Marlene Newman, Ernesto Castaneda, Daniel Schlegel,
Here.
Sam DeSaller,
Here.
Matthew Fennon,
Here.
John Saunders,
Here.
Elizabeth Mitchell, Allison Chopra, Bernard Cross,
Here.
Okay, no worries, bye.
Duncan Campbell, Kirsten Hawley,
Here.
Karen Duffy,
Here.
Chris Thurbaugh.
Here.
Very good. Thank you, Dee. So let's move on to approval of minutes for September 28th meeting, 2023.
Move to approve.
Second.
No.
All right, Dee, I need a roll call for the minutes approval.
Daniel Schlegel,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Matthew Fennon,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes. Oh, no, absolutely. I'm going to abstain because I wasn't here.
Bernard
Sorry.
Cross.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay,
Motion
thank
carries.
you. Thank you, Dee.
There's some that are not in the same order. And
Okay, well,
We'll get to that later.
we'll get to it. We'll follow you. Our next item on our agenda is to vote on reinstating hybrid meeting system for voting commissioners. So as you remember, we wanted everybody to try to come in person, and so we decided we wouldn't let our commissioners vote online. But we have one commissioner that's just not able to make it, and I think we need to change this so that she is able to contribute and be able to vote. It doesn't change the fact that we still have to have 5 people here. That's a mandatory thing. But this is just allowing some of our commissioners that can't make it, even though we have a quorum, to be able to vote on our COAs.
So that can't help quorum issues?
Nope. It's state
State
statute,
law.
yeah.
No, that's it?
Okay. So I'd like to get a motion to approve that change.
Do we want to have any discussion or just, I mean, I'm perfectly happy with it.
I mean, if we want to discuss it, I didn't think there'd be much of a discussion. I'm open to it.
So moved. We can discuss it after the motion.
Okay, I'll second it then.
Okay. So, discussion. Sam, any comments? Discussion?
I appreciate that you were both willing to put it on the agenda, and, I mean, we do have a commissioner who, for basically health reasons, is concerned about coming here, and I think it would help, people who have those kinds of concerns, participate, whether they're voting commissioners or not.
Exactly. Thank you, Sam. Bernard?
I appreciate the situation with the commissioner with the health issues. And whereas I don't have an objection to it in principle, I think the last time there was an issue with, the point was made about quorum, and the persons who were present were the same people all the time. And it I wouldn't say overly burdened, but it seems that they, a core few were carrying the quorum, so to speak. And I would like to say that if we do pass this, then we look back at it ever so often to see how it's working.
Yeah.
Because if that situation happens again, I would like it changed. You can't have the same 5 or 6 or 7 people coming here all the time.
Yeah, and I think, and related to that, reviewing the attendance of commissioners and just checking in with them and seeing if they're still wanting to commission.
Yeah, very good. And Daniel?
I think Reynard said much better than I could have, but so I fully agree with what he said.
Thank you. And
I agree with what they said.
hey, Chris?
Yeah. I think they should come if they can, and that's it.
Karen, any comments? You okay with that? Very
Nothing to
good.
add.
Kirsten?
Nothing to add.
And do we have anybody with us online
No.
that we need to get hold of? It looks very good, all right.
If I
Um,
might, John, Michael Rooker, City Attorney, I do want to make just a very quick point about remote participation in the state's rules. There are a couple of other limitations. Members aren't supposed to attend more than 2 consecutive meetings remotely, or more than 50% of the board's meetings during an entire calendar year remotely. Now, there are some exceptions to that for members who either have a qualifying medical condition that makes it difficult for them to attend. Certainly not gonna get into that, but that would be an exception. Or if you're like for military service or something like that. So, but for the most part, there's still some rules that say if you've been remote for the last 2 meetings, you can't be remote again. You have to come and be in person.
Very good.
So if someone was doing that a lot, could they be removed or could they be asked to
They simply
remove
wouldn't be allowed
themselves?
to participate in the meeting is the consequence. So what we would say is if somebody had been remote 2 meetings in a row and they didn't have a reason for being remote, like a medical condition or something like that, then we would say you can't participate in this meeting.
In that
So
next meeting?
That means they can't
Correct.
talk at the meeting, and they can't give any opinions.
They cannot talk as a board member.
Okay.
That is correct.
All right, very good.
And they couldn't
You
vote.
can't do 3 in a row, basically. You'd lose your participation in the third one.
That's perfectly said.
But on the fourth one,
Then
If they restart, they do 2 again, or would they have to
So
show
the
up
case.
They would have to show up in
Sure,
person
it's not
before they could
upset.
participate?
Oh.
correct. Okay. Absent a qualifying reason.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
I'm sorry, what happens at 50%?
It would be the same exact thing. So what you can't quote unquote participate in the meeting, right?
Okay.
And remember, we have to have 5 people here in person, so we
Right.
have to have a quorum here in person, so that would be the 6th, 7th, or 8th member, so it wouldn't prevent the meeting from happening, it would just mean that person couldn't participate as a board member.
All right, thank you, Mike, for clarifying that. So we have a motion and we have a second. Do we have any more comments? Okay, Dee, would you do the roll call, please?
Daniel Slagle,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Matthew Seddon,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Bernard Cross.
Yes.
All right,
Motion carried.
carries. Thank you, Dee. All right, so let's move on to the Near West Side Guidelines.
Okay, so I went ahead and made a tiny sort of a tiny presentation. I just went ahead and got planning's comments from the last time, which I think that during the last time that the Near West Side Historic District guidelines were brought before the commission, there was not a quorum by the time that hour rolled by. However, there was a pretty, I believe, and the community representatives here can, give their own take on this and present. Actually, I'm going to leave it to them to present in a second, if they would like. There was a back and forth between planning, so I've put some of these are original planning concerns, and before that, before the Near West Side Committee went back and revisited, but I just wanted to give the history, sort of like how this has been coming to the HPC. The version that is copied here in the packet is the most updated version. That I put some of the responses, but I couldn't find, I think there were some other things that the Near West Side did as well. So it's been edited since the comments here. The planning had some concerns regarding setback, about variances, and about some of the terminology being used, but I will leave it to the community to talk. Now, I did as staff notice one little thing, and this is something that I can be in conversation with either the community or everybody else, but this is just a tiny detail. The committee went into great length and great detail to do a pretty large chart of what would be no review, staff review, HPC, and neighborhood. And usually when staff reviews it and then it goes to, and staff kicks it up to the HPC or the neighborhood due to the particular circumstances of a case, there is an asterisk of deemed necessary by hand, because if not, it's gonna mean that it's staff, HPC, and neighborhood. And the point of staff is to take the onus or take some of the weight off the neighborhood. So it's either HPC neighborhood or staff in most cases. And anyways, just screen and porch, I noticed that that asterisk wasn't there, and I wanted a little bit of clarification from the neighborhood, if that was an oversight or if that was something we talked about and I forgot. So I will leave it to, Peter Dorfman is gonna speak, and, yeah.
Okay, so on this point, so we haven't had a direct conversation about this point, but my preference, and just to remind everybody, there was a volunteer group of 10 people from the neighborhood who handled the redrafting. And what this was a redrafting of our existing conservation district guidelines to full historic. In adding this chart, which actually goes on quite a bit, it's a whole lot larger than this. We wanted to make it as explicit as possible what we want to have purview over and what we don't want to have purview over. We promised the neighborhood a light touch, and indicating the kinds of things that we don't want to review was really the heart of this chart. As for the asterisks, what this really meant was there are going to be cases where staff review is sufficient and other cases where staff would like to bring to our attention that maybe we want to take a look at some of these issues. So removal of a tree, we had a lot of discussions about trees. The sense was that we trust staff to make some decisions knowing how we feel about trees and how we feel about various aspects of the guidelines. In many cases, staff's review we feel will be sufficient, but in cases where we think that a tree is something that has an influence on the historic look of the neighborhood, or where we think that it's important to our canopy, the neighborhood would like to have purview over that. So what we're doing is trusting the staff to alert us to cases like that. I don't believe that that's appropriate for screening in a porch.
Then I can take the X off staff and just leave it as HPC and neighborhood. The importance is clarity. It can't be all. It's
Yeah.
either staff or the full process. The point of staff reviews is to take the burden off the neighborhood and, to not duplicate work.
Right. But the issue with screening in a porch is that we have a lot of houses in the neighborhood that are already listed on the national listing. And I believe screening in a porch is uncharacteristic of houses in the neighborhood. That is a case where I think we would almost always want to take a look at that.
Okay.
So if you want to remove this X,
Yeah.
I think that's fine with us.
Okay. Yeah, that it's the clarity I was looking for. That was the only little thing I found because I've been working with them for almost a year now. So, and Sam as well, and so we've been reading and rereading, and that was just the tiniest little detail that I was like, this is for clarity. I just wanted that final bit of clarity. Thank you.
By the way, we had an opportunity the last time we met to address some of these issues. We didn't have quorum, so we couldn't address it for everybody or to the point where it could be voted on. But the other thing that we did at that meeting was just express our thanks to Sam DeSolar and to Gloria for helping us to do this, because that help was critical. So I'll just reiterate that. As for the issues that were raised by planning, we did make some amendments to this. Basically in reference to items 4, 5, and 6, we did do some edits to the document. As far as the first 3 items are concerned, it is our understanding, and that was gathered because we've been looking at this for years now, and because we had expert guidance from Sam and from Gloria. We've actually looked at the state law, and there are going to be instances where the neighborhood has guideline restrictions that are tighter than what's in the UDO. Just to make a long story short, we reserve that right. And as far as we're concerned, If there are things in the proposed guidelines that will not meet UDO requirements, the fact is they will meet our requirements. And those are the ones that we feel concerned about. As if there are ambiguities, we'll deal with them on a case-by-case basis, but in general, we have a few things such as our maximum heights that are tighter than what's in the UDO. That's for a reason. That's for the reason of consistency with our historical standards and the fabric of our neighborhood. So the fact that they're not the same language as exists in the UDO, we're asking you to accept that. So if there are any specific questions on these, I'll be glad to address them. Yes, Chris?
Page 22 on siding.
Okay.
I personally and historically think there's a huge difference between a 4-inch lap, a 6-inch lap, and an 8-inch lap. And if you drive down Fairview Street, you'll see two houses getting done. One has smooth 4-inch, one has grained 6-inch. And the contrast is kind of remarkable. And the 4-inch is really compatible with that era, and the 6-inch really is not, and the 8-inch is off the charts.
Yeah.
And even if it's vinyl and it's 4-inch, it looks way better than cement board 6 and cement board 8. So I'd suggest that you add under siding recommended an amendment with number 4, 4-inch lap is preferred, at least the preferred dimension.
Okay.
Because I don't think people know that. And, I explained it to my wife, and she's like, not interested.
Now, how long has she been living?
There have been occasions where we've looked at new construction as a conservation district where wide lath has been proposed, and we've argued that it was unlikely to pass review by the HPC. We've never had a conflict over that, but
Right.
we have noted that the depth of the siding is an issue.
Right.
But
Fairview
you,
and Kirkwood are great examples. Those two houses with new siding, 4-inch is working.
so if you feel that it should be explicit in the guidelines, that's an amendment that I think I can propose to the neighborhood association.
I feel strongly about it.
Okay.
We're in agreement.
Other questions?
Any more questions?
Thank you so much for your patience and time throughout this long process, and for this was a very committed community, and Karen was there as well, and and we have a good representation here in the public as well, who came here month after month, carefully coordinated meetings so that the majority of them could be present each time, and there was avid discussion and conversation. It was actually truly a delight and an honor to work with this group of people. I just wanted to let them know, coming from staff.
Yeah, we are the newest historic district in the city. And I think we kind of have developed a reputation for being one of the more active design review committees. Will that be true in 10 years? I don't know.
No, I do appreciate how you got this all laid out. I think it's an excellent guideline for people. It's laid out so very well. I mean, people can follow it and understand it. Yes, Sam?
Sort of going back to address what Chris is concerned about, if you look on page 22, item 2, and Bernard was just pointing this out to me, they do, under fiber cement, when fiber cement siding such as hardy board is used to simulate wood clapboard siding, it should reflect the directional and dimensional characteristics found. So you're starting to address that already.
I think it needs to be more
More
explicit.
explicit, okay.
So
'Cause I didn't
I'm
even notice
suggesting
that.
We would be happy to address that as an amendment.
Sure.
Gee, I really like that orange.
So,
Ray, did you have a question?
Yeah, what's the issue with cement board with the wood grain pattern in it?
the discussion we had is that when you have that kind of three-dimensional imitation of a wood grain in a cement product, it tends to be exaggerated, and it looks fake. We're just very concerned that we don't want materials out there that look out of character with the neighborhood because they look fake.
Right, traditional siding is smooth cut, and
It's
none of
not.
it shows grain, like that's,
Okay.
it's-
And what does discouraged mean? Because it doesn't say no and it doesn't say yes. Discourage is ambiguous to me.
Yeah, we use the term discouraged because we are sensitive to the fact that as a design review committee in a historic neighborhood, we can't actually tell anybody that they can't do something. We can tell them that we don't like what they're about to do, and we can advise them that the Historic Preservation Commission is gonna have a problem with that. But we don't legally have the ability to tell somebody you cannot do that. So we adopted the term discouraged simply to say, that's the advice we're gonna give.
Okay, but you said something while that caught my attention. You said you're gonna advise that the HPC would have an issue with it.
Would be likely to have an issue with it, yeah. Well, again, we can't speak for the HPC either. We can simply, our role is advisory.
Okay.
Any more questions? All right, thanks, Peter. Now, do we need to vote on this to move forward, or?
I believe this has to be approved, they are approved by the HPC.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we need to, I'll make a motion to approve the near west side
Before you go, there
Yeah.
are a bunch of,
revision.
yes, which you have to take back to your committee.
There was one item that Chris
Right.
raised that I'm suggesting we address as an amendment.
Right.
at a future date.
Oh, okay, so we're
Yeah,
gonna
we-
vote
yeah.
on what's here now, and
Yeah.
then the amendment's gonna come back.
Okay.
So they'll have something in place.
Exactly. Second. Thank you. Dee, will you do the roll call?
Daniel Schlegel,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Matthew Seddon,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Bernard Kraus,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thanks, Dee.
Congratulations.
Well done.
Yes, thank you. Yes. I really like that orange house. I wonder why. Yeah, I'm gonna put my agenda here. We're at COAs now. I think we are.
Quick comment.
Yeah, please.
It
Chris.
seems that this would function as an overlay, and that when they're both, they need to get through both the COA by law and approval by planning, so I think that's how it's supposed to function.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
We'll have compatible upzoning.
Yes, and I think legal can clarify that the strictest rule is the winner, so.
Yeah, that's straight out of state code. You heard Mr. Dorfman mention that as well. You can certainly imagine, you heard this, I think, at the last meeting where we didn't have a quorum and this was briefly discussed. There are gonna be circumstances where the zoning rules are actually more restrictive than the district guidelines. And of course, our zoning rules, like district guidelines, are they're living, so they change over time and they may well be more restrictive in the future. In each case, state law says the more restrictive regulation applies. So that's exactly right.
Thank you, Mike. All right, so we had a staff review, COA 23-75. So Glenn, you want to bring us up to date on that real quick?
Yes, so, so COA 23-75, the petitioner, Chris Smith, applied for changing of the veneer material for both the retaining wall and the building foundation of 600 West Kirkwood Avenue. This is a new building that was approved by the Historic Preservation Commission last year, I believe. And this was an amendment for the facing material on both the foundation and and on the retaining wall. And the proposed material, the new material is stone block. The petitioner, I requested a brochure. The petitioner brought a full-sized one-to-one scale sample that weigh up almost 100 pounds. It is by my desk at this moment.
What you wish for.
Yeah. But yeah, so it is a material that is traditionally used in that area and compatible, limestone facing. And yeah, the staff approved it.
All right, thank you. All right, so let's move on to is the COA 23-68. Is that our next one?
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, is the petitioner here for?
Jennifer
Yes.
Lloyd.
Excellent. Okay, excellent. So we have already seen COA 23-68. This is for the Waldron Arts Center, the former City Hall for Bloomington at 122 South Walnut Street. This is an outstanding building that is currently being used for theater, like more, entertainment, performance.
Yeah.
So the petitioners are applying for a new awning to serve as a marquee for an accessible entrance on, is this 4th Street? Yeah, 4th Street. So for the accessible entrance at 4th Street, this case came to us earlier in the year, just about a month ago. And there were some concerns about how it would be affixed and its impact to the historic limestone wall. The petitioners brought additional images, and staff recommends approval for this. A lot of staff feels that a lot of the questions were clarified with the additional materials. However, that being said, staff will leave it to the petitioner and to the Historic Preservation Commission.
Okay, thanks, Gloria. Do you have any more comments or information for us?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just clarify the things that came up as an issue that are clear here. You can see we've identified the mortar joints where the awning will affix. Up at the top, there are 2 mortar joints that we think we can get into where the turnbuckles will go. They would ideally be 2 inches inset from that, so that's the only discrepancy if they were to go straight up. It's 2 inches inside of the mortar joint above, but on the masthead above the door, it would be right into those. So I think the short answer is we can say that the sign company says that we think we can get into those joints. And then Sam, you brought up the drainage, so the top of that will angle, so it'll drain down to the corner here and drain down, and then up the top there you'll see where the external light is. We're going straight off of a power there, so it's about a foot where we'll take a flexible conduit to drive the power to light up the sign. And then the other thing we were asked to do is to look at alternate options if we weren't to go into that limestone, and that would be just the 4 posts, which we feel would be an even bigger problem and concern. So not something we'd like to pursue in any way. Otherwise, I think the other dimension that I didn't have before is 15 inches tall. Got that one out there too. Just happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you. All right, we'll go to questions. Kirsten?
No.
Sam?
Okay, so on the inboard discrepancy, I prefer to see the sign get a little bigger, a little smaller, and the stay in the joints. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Meaning,
Meaning leave the turnbuckles and the cables where they are, and if then the sign needs to go a little outboard of 93 inches, maybe it's 97 inches or whatever, that should be fine. Then the other question I had is the 15 inches exactly the height of that band of limestone, or is it a little shorter, or is it a little, I'm just curious.
It's exactly, so that's actually my concern with going wider, is it's really dimensionally exact to the architecture it's there, and if it went wider.
I'm not saying height, I'm saying, so you're saying the band, so the.
I'm saying that the actual awning pretty much exactly covers this, like it was designed to be there originally, so
Gotcha.
going wider means it's just gonna look a little off.
I see what you're saying. Well,
Yeah.
I don't think there's any, have you had any engineering done on this?
They said, when I asked that question,
Yeah.
they basically said that it's so beyond over-engineered that it's not a
We like
concern.
over-engineered things.
They just said it, because I asked I said, well,
Okay.
what kind of proof like that it's gonna hold X amount of weight?
Okay.
But they do think that, I mean, it's just basically the turnbuckles will
If
go.
they're splaying out a little bit, that's great. I
That's,
mean, as long as they hit the joints, great. So, okay.
that's
if they-
essentially
if-
what they're telling me they think they can
Okay,
do just fine,
fantastic.
yeah.
And then I guess the only other question I've got is, so the water is draining back towards that corner where the vertical doors are to the, that side. Is there a scupper or something that keeps it off the wall? Is it drained straight? I mean, what's the mechanism to keep water from like going down the wall?
I don't know the answer to that. I'll have to find that out.
Okay.
I'll also look up the word scupper.
Okay. That's all I got. Thank you.
What is, just so I know, what is the preference of, like, what is the right answer to that?
Well, there's a
to
lot of
that?
right answers,
Okay.
which is the problem, but, you know,
Okay.
some kind of deflector of some kind to kick it out away from the face of the wall so you don't get staining if you get like,
I
depending
see.
on what the roof material is, which, since it's not really visible, I don't think we care too much, other people, except that if it sort of picks up minerals and stuff and starts depositing them
I see.
on the limestone wall on the way down, we'll be less happy about that.
Understood.
Make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
That's all I got.
Thanks, Sam. Lenard?
Well, sorry, what, is the ground limestone?
The pavement? or-
Yeah, or is this, that's concrete? Oh, okay. Interesting.
Okay. Daniel?
No, mine was just about the drainage, just because the History Center, we just had to have our limestone cleaned, so it's not a fun project, so that was gonna be my only question, was about drainage as well, so.
Gotcha, okay.
That's all I had.
Very good. Thanks, Daniel. Matthew?
No question.
Okay.
All
Is that-
right.
okay.
Yeah, I'm surprised that the joints are symmetrically set in that upper band to the door, and I don't want you to be in trouble if you have to drill into it, because I think it's a small harm, and it may be more important to get it well set and set in the right place. So I'm kind of asking, I guess I'm commenting.
You are, well,
I'm asking if the other members would think that shouldn't be a game stopper if he would have to drill into
into the
the
upper
band.
band.
Yeah,
Or to, or,
because he
okay,
had another reason to keep it narrow,
right.
and I'd hate to have those two little holes drive the ship, because you can patch them.
Sure. All right, thank you, Chris.
To add to that point, if I may, there are numerous holes throughout this building that are still holes, or that are holes that have been patched. So it wouldn't be the first.
Karen?
No question.
I don't have any questions because they've already been asked. So we'll do some comments. Kirsten?
No, I don't think I have any.
All right. Sam, any comments?
I think you've done a great job addressing our comments. I think it looks really good, and it'll really do what you want it to do and make this an entrance, so, thank you. Rock on.
Bernard?
Ah, no comment.
Daniel?
Same as Sam, I think it looks really good, I'm excited for it.
Yeah. Matthew?
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. Thanks for your patience, for the response to comments, and being so committed to making something that's very, very, very compatible. I think a lot of people assume it had been there from the beginning. It's just, so, thanks for working through it. I think it'll look great.
Yeah, I agree with what I said earlier, which is that we ought to be flexible on drilling those holes in the limestone.
All right, very good.
Yeah,
Karen?
and I appreciate your comment that,
Yes.
that there are already many holes there, either patched or open, and, yeah, just speaking for myself, of one of the people who uses that entrance, I think it's gonna look wonderful.
Yeah, I think it'll help out a lot, the appearance and make it a little more formal on there. I like this idea a lot.
The lighting's
Um,
cool too.
The
Yeah.
lighting is good.
Yeah, it's gonna be very good. So I need a motion for this, and maybe we include in that motion, if they have to adjust the holes for the awning, they could.
I move to approve COA 2368 and give the petitioner
No, we
flexibility.
didn't.
You talking about drainage too?
I move to approve COA 2368 to give the petitioner
Sorry.
flexibility to
Anybody else?
drill a couple holes
We have to ask.
if needed in the wall, and whatever Sam says.
Staff review drainage.
Oh, it's staff review drainage.
Second that.
We have a second.
Okay, did we ask for public comments?
Yeah, we don't really, well, Chris, you have any comments?
Is anybody, if anybody online has any comments, please use the raise hand feature.
No.
Or money to donate to the cause. Please, Richard.
Okay, seeing no comment?
All right, Dee, do the roll call, please.
Daniel Schlegel,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Matthew Seven,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yeah.
Bernard Cross,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, thanks, Dee. All right, let's
Thank you,
do-
everyone, I really appreciate it.
So the next one I have is, okay.
All right, so let's move on to COA 23-74, 346. Yes.
Can we take a brief recess? Can we take a brief recess? I thought we'd have had quorum and I need to go for probably about 15 minutes and get back. Is that
Yeah,
possible?
we can do
Yes,
a
you
recess,
can take a
can't we?
recess, just state the time that you plan to reconvene.
Okay.
You have
Uh,
quorum, don't you?
No,
No,
but
no,
if
no.
Bernard leaves, we don't have quorum.
Can we say 6 o'clock?
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm counting 5. Oh, you're advisory?
No, advisory.
Oops.
Advisory.
Okay, so we don't have a quorum anymore, we cannot talk about any
I have a
voting
couple of
project?
legal
Every-
Very
Sorry.
good. That's all right, thanks,
Thanks, John.
Gloria. You have a better voice than I do. So, we're gonna do COA 23-74, 346 South Buckner, and our petitioner is with us. Hello, Chris. So,
They're a little out of order from the
Yeah.
packet, I apologize for that.
all right.
We will get to that. So the petitioner for 346 South Buckner Street is requesting an addition to an existing building. So staff comments that the proposed additions do match the existing building in scale and materials. The materials you will see have been, there is a written description for them more than a visual one. And staff found that overall in scale it is pretty compliant with the historic district. Staff recommends approval of COA 23-74. So the Greater Prospect Hill Historic District Construction Subcommittee did have quite a few comments, and they did go into more detail about wanting more information. I believe that we do have subcommittee members online, so if they are online, they can use the raise hand feature.
Is it Richard Lewis? No.
Yes, I believe so. So, I believe this is Richard Lewis, as you may all know, since this is a corner lot. In fact, Richard Lewis is raising his hands, and I'm going to allow him to explain it in his own words. Takes a minute.
Hi, everybody. How are you this evening? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. Thanks for letting me join. I appreciate that. My only concerns with this, first of all, I think the owner has done a fantastic job of moving this existing historic structure into the neighborhood. The restorations that are ongoing look great. The stone facade for the foundation looks great. Everything that's being done so far has a really great look and is a really nice addition to the neighborhood for what was a really horrendous, dilapidated house in that spot before. My only concern was that other than the overhead elevation and the kind of side elevation that was sort of generalized lines running from the back of the house to the garage, there wasn't a whole lot of detail about, there's outer stairwell coming down from the porch that's about ground level to get to the garage or things like that. the garage itself, to me, looks fine. This is, however, a corner lot that does have two public way facades. The Smith Avenue side, which is where the garage would face, being the kind of secondary public way facade. And so from the renderings, it just wasn't totally clear to me what things are going to look like with that covered porch and sort of extending the breezeway to the garage. You know, I will defer to the HPC on this if you all are comfortable with what's been provided and presented. Just wanted to raise that in case there were any questions. I'm always happy to see more detail, but again, so far this owner has done a great job, and I you know, again, think their work has been a great addition to that area of the neighborhood and the historic district. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Richard. Chris, do you have more comments or anything you want to tell us?
Not too many. My intention was just to extend the deck that's already existing there and then just cover it with a roof that would intersect the rear gable on the back of the house. Any stairs that I had to get onto the deck would be from inside of the garage. There's no stairs now from the deck down to the grade anywhere. It just access, excuse me, through the house onto the deck.
Okay, thanks, Chris. All right. Kirsten?
No questions.
Sam?
So if you go to that side sketchy elevation, so what you're saying is between where the garage is and where the house is, it's just gonna be a deck with a roof over it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to possibly screen it in, but it would be like an open, open framework, basically.
So it's open framework, and then below, you're going to sort of replicate what's going on below. It looks like there's some kind of white louver or wood-looking stuff underneath the deck to screen off the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And just replicate that.
Yeah.
And there's no other fenestration on the garage aside from what's shown on that front facade?
Yeah, just on the dormer there. I thought I'd try to match the dormer on the front of the house there.
So the two side elevations don't have any, you've got to have a door in it somewhere off the deck, I guess. But you're not planning on having any other windows or on any other sides of the garage?
Well, possibly on the north side, opposite of where the dormer is.
Okay, I got no further questions.
No questions.
Daniel?
No, sir.
No questions. Chris?
Yeah, did you consider a flat roof? Just to minimize that connector? Did you think about that?
No, I hadn't thought about that.
Could we see the photo?
Photo?
Yeah. There's not one with both the garage and the house, is there?
There's no garage in. This is what he's
Oh, the
proposing to
visual,
build.
okay, let's do the elevation, the sketch elevation. It looks big and it's up high, and it might be, and it also would just make the connection more of a porch-like structure, because you wouldn't see the roof, you'd see the gutter and the porch itself, and it would sort of behave itself better without having a roof structure and looking so large, since it's elevated from the ground level. So I would suggest that that's a better option. You'd still see the nice overhang matching, gutter line matches, and you don't just have that kind of odd, pointless roof. Anyway, was that my question?
Comment, I think. Sounded like a comment.
I asked if he had considered a flat roof.
Oh, good.
Question mark. All right, that's all I got.
All right, Chris. Karen?
Yeah, I have a question. I think in the description, you said you might build, in the future, have an ADU or something
Yeah.
inside the garage, the upstairs, so, but at this point, is it just gonna be open?
I would probably go ahead and put a ceiling floor in the garage. But at this time, I don't really have any plans to finish the space above it.
Okay, because I would think the windows,
Wouldn't be
you would,
would make egress.
you might want windows.
Yeah, right.
If you know, but I suppose you could add them later.
Right. Well,
Okay.
what she's asking is that if you do end up making it an ADU, will you be able to have egress for people to get out in the case of emergency?
Yeah, if I went ahead with that, I would probably make some egress on the west end.
If I could, I think you answered Sam already, but are you building it basically like a deck? Like a kind of a screen porch with columns?
Yeah.
And open and treated floor?
Yes.
So it's basically an open roofed porch deck
Yes.
thingy. Okay.
Very good. I don't have any questions. Should we move to comments? Kristen?
I don't have any.
All right. Sam?
This is, I'm a little, is it gonna be screened or not screened? Cause it went back and forth.
I would like to screen it. I mean, if there's some opposition to that, then I would just leave it open, but it would be my preference to screen it.
Gotcha. You know, you know, this is a little bit sketchier than what I would like to see, but I think the verbal explanation, you know, it works well enough for me. As long as the materials are all matching as stated in the packet. The only thing that you're probably gonna have to do is drop down a beam and a post at the end of the deck. You know, sort of probably centered on that span to carry that roof. And then you'll have some kind of roof beam to catch it all. But you know, given, I don't think the massing or the scale of it is detrimental, so I don't really see an issue with it.
Thanks, Sam. Bernard?
I would like to have seen more. I'm making too many assumptions in trying to figure out what it is that I'm voting on. I'm used to seeing, and I think we normally require more than this, especially for something as significant as an entire addition. I'm having a difficulty with the amount of information in this package, and I'm having a difficulty getting a full appreciation of what's happening here.
I just want to follow up on the gentleman from the neighborhood had mentioned. So I don't know how many of the members were here when I originally petitioned for the original structure. But I actually took this house apart piece by piece and moved it from West 3rd Street into this neighborhood. It's been about a little over a 2-year project, and I've been really careful to try to restore every bit of the house back to its original like structure. It originally, on its location on West 3rd Street, the front porch was closed in. I actually found the limestone columns that had originally been on the house and carried those with it, and tried to put back the front facade the way that it was. And so with the garage addition, I would likewise be very careful to try to match all of the existing finishes and really try to tie it in, where it looks like everything fits. It's really, like I said, kind of been a pet project of mine. It's a house that I'm living in at the moment. So I'd be happy to, elaborate some more or try to do some drawings maybe that demonstrate it a little bit more if there's some gray area in your mind.
I know this house. I think it's brilliant. And I think I've passed a number of times when it was being put up. But that being said, I've heard it said, and I agree with it, a lot on this committee, that if we vote for something and then something else is put up, what can we fall back on to say what we voted on versus, what was eventually constructed? I'm having a difficulty with it. I mean, there are others that may be comfortable with it, and that's, that's up to them. But I mean, I have to imagine. I mean, are there going to be railings on the side of the deck? What type of railings are they going to be? Or what are they going to be made of? I don't know. Just things like that. So I can't tell from what's here. There are a lot of details that are missing from the drawing. I have a general idea what's gonna look like, but there's still a lot missing that would fill in the missing pieces as to what it's gonna look like. So that's just my comment.
Okay. Thank you.
If I could jump in here real quick, I apologize for interrupting. This is Eric Grulich with the Planning Department. But I just wanted to point out on this particular petition, we're still working with the petitioner as the addition doesn't meet the front yard setback. The attached garage is supposed to be 10 feet behind the front of the house. So I believe we're still working with him on modifying the site plan to meet the UDO requirements. So this might change depending on how that works out.
10 feet in front of the house.
I don't understand it because it's like 50 feet from the front of the house. So is it a side setback?
Attached garages in the R3 district have to be 10 feet behind the front of the house?
At least, or exactly?
At least, yes, as a minimum.
So the front of the house is on Buckner Street and the garage is 50 feet some back from that, so I don't really understand what you're talking about. The garage faces Smith, so it's built onto the back of the house.
Do you want it set back from Smith?
Yeah, so Smith is considered a street. This is a corner lot, so it has two frontages.
Okay.
So are you saying you would like to push the garage back 10 feet from aligning with the facade of the Smith side facade of the house?
Yes, I'm saying that the zoning code requires that portion of that portion of the garage to be 10 feet back from the building wall.
From the building wall and not the front of the house?
From the front building wall, the south wall of the house.
He's calling the side the front.
That's the side of that,
I think because
It's on a
this is
corner
also
lot,
street.
so it's
Yeah.
technically a front, two fronts.
That's the only thing that makes sense.
We could also advocate for the petitioner.
Yeah, I don't, yeah,
Because there's a
yeah, I think that's.
traditional.
I mean, you can advocate, but it's not going to necessarily, justify the variance. The variance has to be found on something unique about the property.
Right, that it's in a historic district and that would be non-conforming to the traditional form.
Yep.
Yeah, but that applies to every lot in the neighborhood. That's not unique to this one property. The historic district guidelines don't override the UDO. That's
Yeah,
something
they
that we
can.
talked about with the near west side guidelines just a little bit ago.
They can override the
You can be
UDO,
more
that's what we
restrictive,
just
but
heard.
you can't allow something that the UDO
Yes,
does.
they can. No, but not if it's more restrictive.
Not if it's looser.
Anyway, I was just letting you know that it's possible the site plan might change as it does not currently meet the UDO requirement.
Okay.
So what we would be approving, if we were to approve it, would be doing this, and it still might not get through the variance, and therefore might be coming back, is essentially what might happen. Okay.
But let's approve. He could go to the BZA.
Okay.
I'm not up yet, so I'm
Right.
talking.
Daniel?
I think I'm in the same boat as Renard for some of the details. I like the idea, I like what you've done, I think it's great. I just think some of the details, I feel more comfortable is all.
Okay. Matthew?
Yeah, I've been struggling with this one. I mean, clearly you're very committed to historic preservation, you're doing a great job. This is stuff, you want to encourage, you want to reward. I think the garage is a very clever, I like the look of that garage where it's really going to fit nicely. I love the effort with the dormer and all that kind of stuff. I think, in fact, a deck connecting the two is kind of neat. I like the idea myself, wouldn't mind hanging out on it. But that's a connector like that is, I don't know of any historic example like that. I mean, maybe there's a weird one out there, so that's a bit unusual. And I do kind of feel like we've asked for more details on a less complex and differentiating kind of case. And so I've been struggling with how comfortable do I feel, because it would essentially come down to trust. How comfortable do I trust you to continue doing this? And you know, you seem like a really good person who's doing a lot of good work on this, and it's just normally I don't like making decisions based on trust. I'd rather do it based on what I see. So I've been kind of waiting to see how much heartburn other people have, and so I'm in alignment with them. I wouldn't mind, just like Renard was saying, if you could sketch out a little bit more of what that would look like if you're going to have a railing or something in there and what the railing is made of. That's kind of where I am. Again, I think the project's neat. I think those sorts of things. It's an unusual enough addition, that connection. Not the garage. I like the garage all by itself. The connection is unusual enough that I kind of just like to see it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you have an opportunity too. I've done a flat roofed screen porch, but then I did an actual foundation below and storage, and actually use that lower space. It's so large. But I really think that a flat roof and screen porch would be what is it called? A connector that is definitely distinguishing between the two projects rather than lumping them into one so that could be closed in later and become one monster. But it's permeable, light would be going through it, and it would diminish its mass if you didn't put the roof on it. So I think that would then you'd see, and it wouldn't detract from the front house either. So I think that would be a historically justifiable connection between an addition and the original house. So maybe the request would be to come back with two versions with a little more detail. Like, it wouldn't take long to draw in that porch, to erase that roof.
Yeah. Okay.
So that might be the best way to go.
So we can vote yes or no.
We still have Karen.
Or,
Comment.
I'm sorry, Karen, go ahead.
That's okay. Were you finished?
I'm done.
I like what Chris said.
I do too.
I think having two versions with more detail would help us a lot.
So we can put this on hold, right? And have Chris come back?
I think this is where legal may have.
Yeah.
Are we up against the deadline because of the missed meeting? So
I think so. The application date listed in the petition is September 18th. Is that accurate?
It is.
Is there a continuation that we could engage in?
I think, the way state code reads, if there's no action by the commission within 30 days of the application is considered approved. So, this application was scheduled to be heard at the commission's October 12th meeting. That would have been timely, but at this point, we are beyond that 30-day period, so.
And continuing is not an action.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any action by the commission is necessary at this point.
That's approved.
Pretty thorough discussion, and I think we all appreciate that, but I think it's been approved as a matter of law at this point. It doesn't happen often.
Wait, we can't act at this meeting on this?
If an application for, I'll just quote from, if an application for a certificate of appropriateness is not acted on by the commission within 30 days after it is filed, a certificate of appropriateness shall be issued.
So
We got 30 days already.
So are we already beyond 30 days at this meeting? So why did we even talk about it?
Because we didn't realize that we were beyond the 30 days until near the end of the discussion.
Yep.
That's what just happened. So my apologies for not catching that sooner.
Go ahead, Chris.
Okay then.
Yeah, go tell it. I would say I don't have a lot of heartburn about it. Not like a huge amount of heartburn, but yeah.
Think about that flag. It's a nice way to go.
So this is our comments and,
Thank you.
do what you do. Thank you for your time this evening.
You win.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will be in contact and
I like the
we'll be
smoky
in
roof,
meeting
by the way.
the certificate.
Another quorum argument.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Gloria, which one's next?
Yeah,
Yeah.
There we go. Are we doing 2377?
Yeah, let me see.
Okay, we're gonna move on to COA 23-77.
And that one is within the 30 days.
We're within 30 days on that?
Yes.
Okay. The petitioner is online with this. And give us that presentation, Gloria.
Okay, so certificate 23-77 for 703 East 7th Street. The petitioner is requesting various alterations, including a new egress door, a new gooseneck exhaust on the northeast corner of the building, a new patio on said corner, a new condensation unit, and a 42-inch fence to a screen outdoor unit, and the petitioner is also requesting to replace the front door. Staff comments that the alley between 7th and 8th Street constitutes a public right-of-way. I have used it countless times. However, the proposed door in the back does not detract from the principal facades of the historic building and would comply with egress requirements. Staff, however, has concerns regarding the design of the front door. Whether an option to replace the front door, just the door itself, to comply with egress, rather like whether the petitioner might consider the option to replace the front door, just the door itself, or to switch it around, if that could be explored. Yeah, so considering the potential of modifying that front door to open outward instead of replacing the entire door window unit. Actually, staff recommends conditional approval with that in mind. There are a myriad of other smaller changes proposed to the site, but these are mainly concentrated towards the back of the building, which are secondary facades. So yes, these are pretty substantial, the most substantial thing would be the new door location. And this is where the petitioner can go into more detail about the needs of the for the building, the programmatic needs for the building. Let me see, here we go. The building is being converted from student offices to a Jewish center. Occupancy class is changing from B to A3, which increases the occupancy load to over 250 issues. So there are some egress concerns, and I think that the petitioner might be able to speak a bit more about that, as well as to the other changes that are proposed for the building. So this is the existing door and the proposed door unit with smaller. So the proposed door unit would maintain the proportions and the location and the locations of the windows, but it would change the size of the windows quite a bit. And it wouldn't be the original door. It does change the directionality for the door opening, and here's a bit more information on some of the other alterations to the yard. So the patio, air conditioning units, and the gooseneck vent that would be placed on the back roof. Here are some images of the front and the back. And with that, I leave it to the commission and to the petitioner. Thank you.
Okay. Avi, do you have additional comments for us?
Just a little bit of background. First of all, thank you very much. We've been serving the Jewish and general student community for some 30 years now. A couple of years ago, the university came to us and asked us to switch locations rather than being at 518 East 7th Street, which is a block and a half west. They wanted that area for a student center, a welcome center that the university plans to put up. So we agreed, and then we got this building now that we traded with them. And we're very excited about it and excited to be serving the Jewish and general student community. Having said that, by way of introduction, we are concerned, obviously, about having appropriate egress. We're also somewhat concerned about having the lighting in front. Let's take one thing at a time. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. The egress, as we said, is going to be on the north wall, in the northeast area, and it's really off to the side. And as I didn't get the young woman's name, I didn't catch that, but it's not really very noticeable, certainly not from the street. It's impossible, and even from the side it would be hard to notice, but it does give us another point of egress, which I think is very important for our facility. So we obviously would want it to, for our own sake as well as for yours, to blend as best as we can into the exterior of the building. Likewise, the patio area would just be available for the egress and serve for that purpose. That's what's happening in that corner. Let's, if we could, get to the other picture of the south side of the building.
Sorry, give me 1 second.
All good. Thank you. So that's the front and main entrance to the building. I know our architect has submitted various designs and photographs, etc. Subsequent, this has not been submitted yet, but I just want to share it with you, because subsequent to the submission, we did go on to the University Court's Historic District entry in Wikipedia, and we came to learn that the front door that we have there is not an original front door. Actually, there have been a number of changes to the front. The front door used to have a screen that hinged on the east side. If you're looking at the building, that means to the right is where the hinge was. That screen would open out, and that screen door no longer exists. Behind there, as best as I can tell, and again, we'll submit that photograph, or you can find it yourself on Wikipedia, the main door had no glass at all. Evidently, there you see a knocker in the photograph to allow you in, and again, that would open in, and again, the hinges were on the east side, meaning to say to the right. So the door that we have now, what my point is already not original. Likewise, the steps have been modified. Notice in the picture, maybe it's hard in this particular photograph, but the bottom step sticks out. It goes further south than the side walls that contain the stairs. In the original photograph that we found, probably from the late 60s or early 70s, which is, the building of course is much older than that, but that stairs did not exist, and when you were on the top step outdoors and entered the building, you went up another step, which is really I can see why they changed that, because it's not a very good safety perspective. The screen door came out while you were on the step, and then you step up and in. The way it is right now, there's a landing there, which is why they brought that extra step down, and that was a good thing. The only issue that we have now is we prefer, and the city wants us, of course, to have the door open out and not open in, and that's why we're working on all that. I should also point out that we do want to install better lighting right on both sides of the door, and actually on the outsides of those side windows adjacent to the door. and that's why we want to have a little bit larger face there. If we make these two windows, there we go. If we make these two windows narrower, it allows us to put those lights in. Also, these two windows, the one on the right and on the left, if they become narrower, they match better to the other windows on the south side, on the other windows on that wall. So I think all in all, I think it has merit, and we're hoping that you would see it the same way.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kirsten, any comments? Questions? Questions?
This is probably just a coloring mock-up, but I just wanted to make sure the door that you're at, the new door that you're adding in the back of the building, is it gonna be white or gray? Because it looks gray in the photo, so I just wanted to clarify.
Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, let me ask him to mute.
I'm sorry. We plan to have it match all the other trim, which is white, of course, yes.
Thank you. Sam, questions?
Yeah, did you go to the site plan? I think some engineering firm did the site plan. So that new door and patio is on the northeast corner of the building, right?
Correct.
And that, you're proposing that to be part of the egress system because you're now in assembly occupancy with over 250 people and above, right?
Right, that's our concern.
All right, so.
I don't know the exact numbers, but yes, correct.
So how high above grade is that patio, and how do you propose to get people off that patio to the public right of way if it's part of the egress system?
The outside there, the ground slopes down as it goes south. So the patio, when it would go out, it would end up meeting even with the ground.
Okay, so you don't have to do anything. That's all magicked in with the grade. And so you got on the would you go to the, Gloria, would you go to the rendering of that patio?
Yes.
Would you, so the guardrail is sketched in very sketchily. Would you talk to me about what that guardrail is made of, and also what the maximum height is from the patio to the ground at its highest point?
Okay, so at its highest point, which means at the southern
Avi, I can interject because I did some measurements there. So at the one thing I would like to point out is this egress was previously approved with the certificate of appropriateness a little over 2 years ago. Due to funding and construction issues, it hadn't been started. That's all been addressed now, and petitioner is eager to move forward, but the COA is only good for 2 years. That's why this particular element had to be renewed. The other items are new to the petition. When I did measurements, the grade there is 28 inches. And then once we get to the far north end, we can slope it. We'll have a slight grade that a slight fall in the patio that complies with ADA requirements, and will end up being about 6 inches above the sidewalk on the north end.
Okay, so basically you don't have to have a guardrail per se, you can just do a rail.
Yes, that's correct. It will need a curb, and petitioner would like a rail there as well, just from a safety standpoint. Because you don't need a rail until you get over 30, but we're at 28, and that's
Yeah, so
it'd be better to have some sort of rail around there.
So talk to me about this curb, about what the patio is, if there is a curb. The patio is it just concrete, and what are the materials of the rail?
It's concrete, and it would be steel rail. They can either do the 4-inch curb to meet ADA requirements, or they could do a rail with a toe kick at the bottom, which is a metal plate. Either one of those meets ADA requirements. I think the curb is less intrusive, visually intrusive, and also the handicap ramp that exists on the south side, or On the north end of the building, already, it has a curb, so it would match that if we did a curb.
Okay, and I guess I have one other question. There was a mention in the packet about extending the stair from the basement. Am I mixing this up, or do I have this right?
So that is in the back of the property in the north end. There is a kitchen. The petitioner would like to expand the ability to provide kosher food for members of the community, as there's not anywhere nearby. I think Avi probably talk about that more in just a second. But with moving to a larger hood, well, one, the hood exhaust they have there is not compliant. It is up against the building, which presents a grease fire hazard, and it's also not painted at all, so it's noticeable. So we wanted to move that away from the building to comply with requirements, and also do a black color so it's not as obtrusive on the backside of the building. Avi, do you want to talk about why you're interested in this?
So I'd like to go back to talking about the stair. I'm trying to ask about the stair.
Yeah, the stair.
There's a
stair.
The stair
Yes,
that's
that
below
staircase.
grade, and is what is shown on the site plan.
I'm sorry, that staircase?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's an existing staircase there. And that's in disrepair and does not meet code at all.
So okay, am I mixing this up? I thought I saw something in the packet where there's
It's
a
right there.
steep stair.
Number 4, extending basement?
Not from the basement up, that's getting reworked, is that?
It's number 4, extending basement egress to replace steep stair with code compliant shallower steps, is that it?
So are you
Yeah.
extending the basement stair? And is that
Yes,
what is
the
actually, is that what is shown on the site plan? Is with the extension on the
Go
north
back to
side of the building?
Site plan again.
So,
If I can.
yeah. So that little guy, right under where it says the label for patio, it looks like it goes about 2/3 of the way.
Right,
Is
yeah,
that,
that's the extended stairs, yes.
that's the extended one? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're gonna actually have to have a guardrail there?
Yes, at that location, you are correct, yes.
Okay, so what's that gonna look like?
Well, it'll be, if you look at the back view of the property, the intent would be to match the railing system that's on the back escape. So they're similar, which
Okay.
is black steel.
Okay, that's all I got, thank you.
All right, Renard? Daniel?
No, I don't think I have
Matthew? No. Chris? Karen?
I have a question about you said the front door, you explained that the front door that's now glass is not original. Are the 2 windows beside it original?
I believe that they are, although they've been modified in the photo that we found and from the Historical Society. They have 2 air conditioners, one in each one of the sides that were, back when they didn't have central air, they had the window units. It wasn't in the window, it was at the bottom end of those side units. But it looks like the actual glass and mullions or whatever, in my perception, I'm not an expert, excuse me, but my perception, those would be probably original.
Okay, so everything on that storefront, the top detail, whatever you call that, the curved windows.
Transom.
Transom part. And then the 2 side windows those are original. The door is the only part of the storefront that's not original.
I don't believe that the top transom is original either, because looking at it, when you go inside the building, it's made with 2x4s to give it those, what are they, 4 glasses with 3 units. There's 3 units that divide the glass on the transom there are 2x4s, if I remember correctly, whereas the windows to the left and to the right are shall we say, not as blunt piece of wood. I don't know how to say that any better. It just looks like it was put together by somebody who evidently knew how to use an electric saw, but I can't say that they were the height of whatever. The whole unit is clad in vinyl, and that all is certainly not original. So it's hard to figure out what they saved, what they rescued. I think the windows were rescued, but the above and below and around and all of that is not original.
Okay, thank you.
From my perception.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We do have
Richard?
public Richard Lewis.
Yes. Richard? There we go.
Hi, I don't actually have any comments on this. Did I, oh, sorry, I forgot to lower my hand from the previous.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, all right. Todd, do you have some more information for us?
No, I was just going to, Avi got to it. That storefront is wrapped in vinyl, so it's hard to tell what is original. When we were looking at that, we realized it's wrapped in vinyl, and so it's very difficult to see what was original on that storefront.
I do have a question for both of you and Abby and Todd. If you could send us the link to that photo or email the photo, and we can share it on the screen now to the historic picture.
Okay.
I don't know if it's possible, but if it is, it could be very helpful.
No, we're working on it here. You'll have it in just a minute.
Okay.
And I'm sorry that we didn't present it earlier together with the package. It's something that came up subsequent to the package being put together.
Thanks.
There you go. I got it.
We're not gonna get to everybody.
Okay.
Daniel's gonna leave at 7.
Okay.
All right. Do you guys have the photo?
It's on its way to you. Just 1 second.
Okay.
Thank you. I have my email open. How many cases do we have after this?
Do we have any of those for our 30-day limit?
Yeah, the next one is the only other one.
Okay. Okay.
Seven oh three. We just sent it, so you should have it in just a moment.
Thank you. Sometimes it takes. Here we go.
Oh, wow.
Oh, but
Totally different.
okay, I'm just gonna change stop share.
Here we are.
Wow. The awning and everything's been changed.
Is the awning gone in the plan?
The new awning's curved.
Oh.
That's on the building.
Right. Frankly, I like the current one better.
You see the air conditioners too. You see the old screen door. Well, we can't
Notice
see.
if you would, the screen door which opens out has the handle on the left side, means say on the west side, which means the hinge is on the right opening out. And thank you. Also notice looking through the screen, you see what looks to me, and I could be wrong, looks to me like a door knocker in the middle upper part of the door behind that screen. If you could move the cursor up there. Yeah, right there. And I'm guessing, although I don't know, but I'm guessing that the inner door, which opens in, probably also has their hinges on the right, which means on the east side. So it's an entire different product than the original.
Okay.
While we're at it, notice what I was saying about the steps. If you're on the top step outdoors, you have to take a step in to get inside. That white painted is the step you'd have to traverse to get into the building from outside the building. So they went ahead and added a platform there, a landing, better said, which forced them to make the last bottom step one step further south. Each step came out a little bit, evidently, and the bottom step now currently goes past those two side enclosures. Yes, thank you, whatever they're called.
All right, thank you. So, we've got questions. I don't have any questions at this point. We should move on to comments. Gerson, Sam, comments?
I think all the changes that you are proposing actually improve the property. You know, the front's not original, so, and it's, as you say, not the height of craftsmanship, so I don't have any qualms about redoing the front. I also wouldn't have any qualms if you wanted to make that back door a full light door similar to the front door. I guess the only thing that I would say is I'd encourage you to look at the front rail, which is a simple stainless steel one, as opposed to the back rails, which are all those painted black steel. Only because of maintenance, it's a little bit cleaner, but really I have no issues with any of the changes you're making. They all sort of clean things up.
Shoot.
Thank you. Bernard? Daniel?
Yeah, I do agree that there's pretty significant change to the fenestration on that door area. However, I think it is so in keeping with the rest of the house. I mean, I actually had to look at those two pictures twice to figure out the difference. And so it doesn't give me any heartburn. I'd be happy to approve this.
Okay, thank you. Chris?
Yeah, I'm looking, my comment is the interior elevation shows the kind of a trim board coming down all the way down. And the other ones have this weird wide extension where the light is. And I think it'd be cleaner if you made the exterior look like the interior as far as that line and the windows. And then the light goes in that piece of trim, because otherwise it's oddly off center, and that defines that window and echoes the other small windows. So that'd just be my comment, that I suggest using the interior elevation on the exterior as well.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Karen?
Nothing to add.
Okay. Any comments from the members? All right. Any comments from the participants online? All right, I don't have any comments. So let's do a motion.
Move to approve COA 2377.
Second.
Got that, Dee?
Yep.
All right.
Daniel Schlegel,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Matthew Seddon,
Yes.
Ron Saunders,
Yes.
Bernard Cross,
2379.
motion carries.
Thank you.
I know. Okay, thank
Thank
you
you,
very
Avi.
much. Thank you, Avi. Thank you, Mr. Todd, for coming and joining us this evening. All right. We're gonna move on to 2379, 118 North Walnut Street, because it's on our 30-day perk. And I think, Matt, you're with us?
Oh, wait.
Wait.
The previous one is actually, hold up.
The next meeting's not that long.
So is that, so are we gonna miss this one?
You will miss it by a single day.
Okay. And what about Matt's? Does it
Did
hold?
we not agree to continue it previously? My recollection is.
I think so, yes.
To extend the 30 days, so it's.
It's still, it would hold? Okay. Okay, so we have a time, issue, so we're instead going to change to 322 West Second Street due to, time constraints
Right.
and scheduling constraints.
Okay, so we're gonna move to 2378,
Yes, let me pull up the,
322 West Second Street.
yes, so, we do have the petitioner online.
Middle,
So the petitioner is requesting the replacement of 17 windows at the Henley House located at 322 West Second Street. Staff comments the following. Staff recommends that the petitioner restore the historic windows using techniques such as weather stripping and retrofitting them for a longer duration. Staff understands that storm windows complicate opening and closing the historic windows, but this is something that can be addressed with the type, model, and location of them. So just to clarify, yeah, the presentation says contributing. This house is not contributing. This house is listed as notable, and it is not located, just for clarification, in the Greater Prospect Hill Historic District, but rather is a district in its own right. It is the Henley House Historic District. The bungalow, located at 515 South Madison, this is just clarification, is however rated as contributing. However, it is not located in any historic district whatsoever. So the windows have been identified, and a careful in-depth survey of the existing windows has been done, indicating that they can all be restored. Some require more repair than others. I'm going to continue. Staff does not recommend approval of COA 2378. The following images from the study that the petitioner presented. So there are 3 different types of repair class, 1, 2, and 3. The windows were evaluated on an 8-point system and assigned scores for each element, with total scores for repair class being somewhere between 8 in best condition and 24 the worst condition. Interior frames and adjacent wall surfaces were not addressed. So the petitioner did provide a very detailed plan and identification of each of the windows. So 2 windows on the first floor, 15 windows on the second floor. And I'm not going to go carefully over each, just enough to say that they all range between 8 and I think less than 20 on the worst window. There is different levels of deterioration. You can look at the different detailing here. So sash height, sash width, top trim, side trim, bottom rail, meeting rail, head rail, side rail, and then there's comments on each of the specific issues with each window. So there were 2 quotes. There was a quote for an Anderson package for $20,000 that for the replacement of these windows, and then there is the quote for the restoration, which can range between $23,000 and $32,000. They have been working with the BUEA, but for a green grant. I don't know the exact name. That the petitioner can clarify that for me. we were trying to get them to give them both grants, but I don't think that could be possible to offset the cost, both the BOA facade grant and the other grant. But that, again, is outside of my purview, how those grants are administered. But I did want to give you a bit more of the context. This case it's the second time this case has come up in the last 2 years. In this moment, they did provide a very detailed study of each of the windows, and with that I leave it to the Historic Preservation Commission and to the petitioner, which I think yes, unmuted.
So Gina, do you have any additional comments for us?
Hi, I'm Gina Lovell from Amethyst House, and I also have with me in my office Steve Fitzgerald. He is our facilities manager, just because he knows more of the technical things about the windows than I might be able to, so.
Yeah, I think our aesthetic goals are similar. We have other goals. The problem that I initially raised was I was concerned about emergency egress because these huge windows with age sashes, not everyone could open these to get out of these rooms if there was an emergency. And then there's the performance issue that we're concerned about. But we've replaced some windows in our other location on Rogers Street, and we're using a local contractor, Tommy D, who they have a lot of experience in this area. And there really is no discernible difference from the outside. They just are replacing the sashes, leaving all the trim inside and outside in existence.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on to questions. Gerson?
I don't have any.
Sam?
So the windows in the report, or none of them are about the bungalow. This is just the main house we're looking at, right? Okay, got no other questions. Thank you.
No questions.
Daniel?
I'm afraid I do have questions, and I have a little bit of trouble evaluating the assessment report and trying to figure out, was sort of keeping it, how can I tell that if the idea was, yeah, we think we could keep and just repair this window rather than replace it? What was the discrimination that was made? Because I see like repair class 1, repair class 2, repair class 3, and then I see scores from 8 to 24 with most landing on like 13, 15, maybe a 17. And I'm just was the assessment, did it consider keeping and repairing the original window? Yes, is what Sam was saying. And so just trying to figure out, like, where's the argument for replacing the window? What are the data that I see that say, okay, this one's too far gone and we have to replace it?
I thought Donna Sink did the assessment for us, and I thought it had to do with her grading the total repair class, whether it was a 17 or, an 8 on the scale. I'm not sure I know much about the.
She's just assessing the present condition of the windows that we have now.
Okay, so is there a cutoff, like, over 12, it can't be salvaged and we gotta replace it? Is there something like that? Or, because, yeah, like you said, I see she gave them repair classes, but and then there is okay, we can do this, and here's how much it'll cost. But I don't see like, okay, we gotta replace windows A, D, and W because they exceed score 15 or whatever. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
You're right, that's what we see in the report too.
Okay.
That's the condition of the windows as they are in place now.
Okay.
It wasn't an alternate view given about rehabilitating.
Gotcha. So, okay, all right. That's my only question.
All right, good. Chris?
Yeah, it says most of the windows are not operational and repairing them would require removing the sash and frames for off-site restoration. That's the conclusion of the report?
That's right.
So off-site restoration, did someone give you an estimate for that, or what happened?
No, we just looked at that, it looked prohibitively expensive, and prolonged, project.
Yeah, it would interrupt operation.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And their lead issues. Did you address those?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Oh, did you address lead issues as far as part of this repair?
That didn't rise. A good point, though.
Okay, thanks. Those are my questions.
Karen?
Well, it's my understanding that, Bloomington Restorations has covenants on this house? Is that? That is correct.
Okay.
And on the bungalow also. And,
Correct.
I just want to make sure we're all aware of that.
Right, I talked to, Steve Wyatt this week, and I've been emailing him, so, I guess depending on what you guys decide, then I would then turn and submit to their committee or their organization to get approval.
Steve, do you have any comments?
No, we've not received the request, so we have not had any discussion regarding it, but typically we do not approve window replacement, that can be repaired.
All right, thank you, Steve. Okay, I don't have any questions. So let's, is anybody on the Zoom have any questions? Raise your hand, please. Okay, so let's move on to comments. Kirsten?
No comment.
Sam?
I can't support replacing the windows. It's a notable building. The cost differential between repair and replacement per the report doesn't seem egregiously different if they are on the low side, but even so, I can't support replacement.
Almost exactly what Sam said, but with a little more passion.
Thank you. Dana?
I'm in their boat.
Okay. Matthew?
Yeah, I think my issue is I would like to see a stronger, clearer argument as to why windows couldn't be replaced, maybe even a few numbers on the cost. Because we are allowed to consider cost as part of the evaluation, but I don't see a cost comparison for just fixing them. I agree it sounds super expensive, but I don't know. Is it in there for a cost comparison for replacing? I mean, for actually repairing every single window?
There's a range.
There it is,
right up there. Right there.
Okay.
And then the replacement is 2736. Couple lines up. Yeah. 3 versus 5.
So it's a replacement, it's either 20 or 23 to 32.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I guess also I'd like a little more specificity given the importance of this historic building. When you have a statement like in the letter, most of the windows are not operational. Well, which ones are, which ones aren't? Could we potentially consider replacing ones that are not operational, but repairing ones that are, things like that? I just feel like I don't have enough information to justify just swapping out the windows. That's my comment.
Chris?
Yeah, I'm becoming a libertarian on windows, so I just want to say I've fought to save them for years and years and years, and I'm starting to see the reason that windows may be something that over a long period of time should just simply be replaced at a certain point, especially on houses where the access is needed and so on. And I know on principle this doesn't have a chance, but I'm planting seeds for the future, because I think preservation is going to eventually become more libertarian about windows. But right now, that's not where they are. But I'm there.
All right, thank you, Chris. Karen?
I'm not there. So, I wouldn't want to see these replaced.
Right, I
And
would
I
not.
wouldn't advise it.
Any comments? Okay. You know, I have to agree with my fellow commissioners here that I'd rather see them repaired than replaced. So I cannot support this petition. So saying that, we need a motion.
Well, I don't know, I'm amenable to them coming back with a little more detail on which one, so I'm amenable to that. Like, tell me which ones aren't functioning, and tell me, you know, give me a more specific thing. Is there a way to balance, we can do this side or that side? So I'm amenable to that. Otherwise, I would just propose to deny it. I'm just trying to toss out a plan B, a middle ground.
We're at our 30-day limit almost with this.
Yeah,
one.
that's a problem.
So, we could do a continuance?
Well,
With
there,
the
there's
consent.
already a motion on the table.
Yep.
Did we put a motion on the table?
Yeah.
Sam,
And it's seconded.
Never mind.
they moved to deny.
Move to deny.
Okay, never mind.
All right, we have that. Dee, would you do the roll call, please?
Daniel Schlegel,
Can I just get clarification when I say yes or no with that? I just,
A
Yes
yes
means they keep
deny.
the windows, no means they have permission to replace them.
A yes vote would be a vote to deny the request for a COA.
okay, it just goes backwards, so I wanna make sure I said it right.
It's counterintuitive, yes.
Thank you, buddy.
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Matthew Seddon,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes,
Bernard Cross.
Yes.
Motion carried.
thank you.
I do want to mention one thing to the commission. I haven't seen a lot of denials in the time I've staffed you. There is a requirement that where the commission denies the COA, it must state its reasons for the denial in writing. So, it's historically been done, but,
Yeah, Gloria, normally where it's set up.
okay. You don't vote specifically to adopt those reasons. She just writes it up based on the discussion.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, we're gonna lose Daniel.
I can give you about 10-15 minutes if that'll give us enough time to get through one or two more.
Okay, absolutely.
I really will have to leave.
Which one do we wanna go to next, Gloria?
Let's go back up to, Matt Ellenwood, or go down, yeah.
Which is, COA.
Yeah, we've been seeing this one for
Yeah,
a while as well.
COA 23-79, 118 North Walnut Street. So, you
Yeah.
wanna quickly, because you've seen this one already.
So, can the person, okay, Matt is here. Is anybody else representing COA 23-79 at 118 North Walnut Street? Raise their hand so that I don't ignore you accidentally. Okay, raise hand feature. Okay, so very quickly, 118 North Walnut Street, the petitioner is requesting a deck on the rooftop. So staff comments the following. The additional drawings provide clarity to the structural system for the deck and the stair enclosure. However, concerns remain regarding the anchoring of the structure to the neighboring building. How are the roof and existing floor? Anyway, a lot of this actually, they did send a bit more information. A few minutes just before the meeting, so I'll show you those. The deck, so staff doesn't have any issue with the materials or the location for this deck and for this stair enclosure, and I'm just gonna present everything and just kind of leave staff recommendations kind of a bit more open-ended. So this is the precedent that we had seen the previous time, the materials and the sort of the form of the railing that would be on the deck. The petitioners sent the following lot lines, measurements, a little while ago, just before the meeting. So I'm bringing this more for your information to do with as you will. Let me see if I can zoom in a bit more to Hoosiers Acres Inc. LLC so that you can see where the walls are located within the lot line.
Okay.
And let me just continue with the slideshow. And these are the most recent drawings that have been submitted. So attached 2x12 beams with Simpson hanger per structure, new 0.3 2x12 beam, per structure. So I can zoom in if you need to, but this has some additional information. And the petitioner is online so that he can answer some questions. The staircase enclosure would still be attached to the exterior, but this interior section can provide some additional clarity or clarification on the structure and the support system for the patio itself. And with that, I leave it to both the Historic Preservation Commission and to the petitioner. So yeah, these drawings are very fresh. They're hot off the press and submitted just before the meeting.
10:25. Matt, can you do some additional comments for us?
Let me see if he needs.
Yeah. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. This is Matt Ellenwood, Matt Black Architecture. Thanks again for the time. So yeah, since last time we reviewed this, or you reviewed this, I consulted again with Kevin Potter, a structural engineer. He performed that survey work, which you just saw, and essentially confirmed the building width is like 22 feet, 0.1 inch, or 22.1 feet, I should say. So about 22 feet, 1 inch, which corresponds to the facade of the building as you see it on the west side. And so with that, we realized that, with the measurements of the interior of the building and looking at the kind of some openings in the existing stairwell, that there's actually a separate masonry bearing wall, within our footprint, if you will. So that essentially that exposed wall of the KP building is within their property. And so we have our own masonry wall, which you can see in that upper left-hand corner of that section, that goes up to the existing roof and then supports the existing roofs. So with that understanding, then we determined it would make sense for us to, build this new roof deck on top of our own existing masonry walls, which again is reflected. It's a little bit, I guess it's hidden or dashed in within that stair section in that drawing, but that's kind of beyond where the new beam and deck would be supported, independent of the KP building exterior. So that was the kind of the revelation of the survey and further investigation and consultation with Kevin Potter. Now the other things I should highlight, Gloria also mentioned that the new stair enclosure would indeed connect back to the KP building, much like it is today. Obviously, we've got to support that and that enclosure. Probably, I would say what's not really depicted in this section is that, and there is existing framing today up against the KP building within that stair enclosure. So we would probably look to actually do the same, essentially rebuild it as is or use what we can of that framing. But for the most part, the stair enclosure is going to generally match what's there in terms of the size, of what's there today. And it's fairly accurately reflected in the drawing you see here. The other items would be that are different from last time would be the railing. There was a comment previously about maybe expanding that height of the railing around the deck, just for some added, kind of security and keep people from wanting to, climb over, be tempted. And so we've actually brought that up to 48 inches rather than the code required 42 inches. It's still glass, and in that area. So so that's what we've done. And then on the exterior, per recommendation, it'd be the north side of the railing, on the north side of our property, looking at cladding that in a way that would match, essentially kind of match the stair enclosure in terms of the finish, and kind of look to, again, to kind of blend in with the roof that's up there, or I guess the brick and the roof that's up there. But I think that's mainly that covers the changes since last time you looked at this.
All right, thank you, Matt. Kristen, any questions?
No.
Sam?
No questions.
Bernard?
No.
Daniel? Matthew?
No.
Chris? Karen?
No.
Members? I don't have any questions. So let's move to comments.
No comments.
All right, Sam?
I appreciate the petitioner making the effort to stay on the property, and also I think the design works well for where it is, and it's basically going to be invisible. So I think it's a good project.
Thanks, Sam. Bernard?
No.
Daniel? Matthew?
I second what Sam said.
Just, it's interesting, all those downtown buildings have walls right against walls.
Yeah. Very cool.
Nothing to add.
Any questions? Okay, comments, good. So we need a motion.
Move to approve COA 2373.
Second.
All right, D? D? D?
I don't
She's
think
being
Dee's online.
I see her.
She's abandoned us.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I don't know what happened, sorry.
You're good.
Daniel Schlegel,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Matthew Seddon,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Bernard Cross.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Very good, thank you. So Daniel, how's your time?
We could probably squeeze it, it's a quick.
Okay. So you want to do Don and Lisa while they're here?
I think we have, how many more do we have?
Just two.
We have two more. We could try to do Don and Lisa. It is a bigger project.
Right. Aren't they gonna do, it is demolition, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, let's move to COA 23-80. I know our petitioners are here.
Okay.
Thank you for coming, so let's run this one through, because they were here before.
Yes, but not officially. Okay, so, COA 23-80, the petitioner is requesting full demolition and new construction at 934 West 2nd Street. This is located in the Greater Prospect Hill Historic District. Staff comments the following: it is always preferable to save a building when it can be saved. It is also the responsibility of the property owner to maintain their property. This property is in a highly deteriorated state. However, the same owner has kept it over the last 20 years. However, the so this takes a lot of twists and turns. The Greater Prospect Hill Historic District Construction Subcommittee one of the members did reference the poor state of deterioration before the current owner purchased the property and supports the project. The proposed building is a more contemporary style that calls back to the Craftsman bungalow and complies with the new new building parameters for the historic district. So Greater Prospect Hill Construction Subcommittee, there were some questions. Is there a 15-foot setback comparable to the two neighboring houses? This is for the proposed new building. That's something we look for in our design guidelines to make sure that the streetscape is consistent. I'm gonna put a staff caveat that this is also where planning would get involved. Another comment, members of the commission may point out that the design comes across as a blending of two styles. The basic shape is that of a gabled L cottage, while the architectural details are of craftsman style bungalow. Both styles are found in our neighborhood, and there is no requirement that new construction be done in only one style. The 3/1 windows in the illustration are classic craftsman style. Again, generally supportive of this project, depending on the answer regarding the front setback. And then this is the second comment. I was in the residence in 1999. Based on my visit to the property, improvements were in poor condition at that time, and I believe there is nothing worth saving. Giving Mr. Weiler? Okay. Weiler's plan for a new improvement fits the guidelines that support the raising of the current improvements, the current building, and constructing a new residence within the guidelines. Completely agree on making sure the setbacks align with the neighboring structures. Excited to see positive action for this property that has been so neglected for so long. In general, I like the design. I'm supportive of this request. Based on email feedback from the owner, the front setback will be the same, comparable to the two neighboring houses. In accordance to our design guidelines, in addition, the public-facing footprint of the new construction is very similar in dimension to that of the original structure. The vernacular design style appears to incorporate elements of both gabled L and craftsman bungalows. And here's a letter that Jeff Golden sent to us. And it basically states these comments that have been previously mentioned, but in a more letter format. So here I also added Kevin Potter's engineering report on the property regarding the failure of the roof on the northeast room, and yeah, so repair of that room. I'm not sure if people had time to see this. I don't want to go through the entirety of this report as it was in the packets. But it is a pretty extensive report of different changes that need to be done and reconstruction for different parts of the house. A lot of it, windows, sidings, railings are things that can be repaired. So this is a photo, and this with a plan and a photo of the sites. So number one is that upper, so the northeast corner, number one, rebuild, and number two, the porch, as you can see, would need rebuilding. Number three, missing vinyl siding, but that's to the exterior. I did visit this property with the owner, and so the rest of the photos I took this spring. When I went there, the interior is basically just needs to be completely redone for the entirety of the property. I'm not sure, I can't attest to the bones in the front of the property, but I can definitely say the back side is pretty far gone through. There's moisture problems that have rotted that area of the structure. I did notice moisture issues in the rest of the house. I don't know how much that's creeped in and caused damage to the rest of the wooden structures. I could not tell, as most of it was covered. But yeah, so that's the existing structure, because this is a two-parter, so there's the existing structure that you have to decide whether or not you as a commission will keep. So I as staff did not actually give a recommendation, because I myself am very on the fence about the ethics of where to go with this one. As staff, I do not have an issue with the design according to the guidelines, the Greater Prospect Hill guidelines and what was presented. However, this is a two-parter where two decisions must be made. The first one is, will a full demolition be allowed for this contributing structure in a historic district? And the second one is the new structure compliant? And so it's a two-parter, and you have to consider it as such. So with that, I release it to the commission and to the petitioner. Thank you.
Hey, Gloria, if I could jump in real quick, and I apologize, I have to jump off in a minute, so I just wanted to give planning's input on this. It does appear that the site plan meets the UDO in terms of setbacks for the house and the detached garage. So I don't immediately see any issues from the zoning code perspective.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Eric. Okay. Let's do questions. Kristen?
No questions.
Sam?
No.
Bernard?
No.
Daniel?
This is one very similar to what Gloria said. I was on the fence as I've read this one repeatedly since you sent out the packet. How long had y'all owned this building?
So, we obtained, we bought the medical office building at 1010 West Second in 2005. And this building, this house, was, I would say, I guess that would use the term tossed in with the purchase of that, because the people that owned the medical building did not want, they needed it, didn't want it, and basically just said, it's yours. They had purchased it in 1991, and so for 15 years before we obtained any interest in it, nobody, at least for 15 years, nobody had lived there. I don't know how long prior to 1991 it was vacant, but when we purchased the medical building to open a medical practice there in 2005, it was already in pretty poor shape.
Yeah, that's what I had read. So, and I'm just asking this next one. It's strictly out of curiosity, just to know. But had you looked into previously any sort of preservation efforts or anything, just out of curiosity?
Well, it would have collapsed probably onto itself by now already had we did repair the roof at least a couple of times. We didn't do a full roof replacement, but we fixed the areas that were leaking, and it was kind of like sticking your finger into a dike. I mean, it was. You know, the basement's wet, it hadn't had any conditioning, and so it was, you know, in rough shape. The windows, you know, were already pretty well rotted, and so, you know, there's, you know, at the time that we acquired it. So I feel like
I was just curious on the. I just didn't know, so I just thought I'd ask. So.
I feel like we made an attempt to keep it from collapsing, but that's about all.
Okay.
We've been able to.
That's all I have then.
Matthew?
Did anyone from the Greater Prospect Heights comment other than Jeff? Is this all Jeff?
Jeff and Richard Lewis. And
Jeff.
actually, Richard just raised his hand right now.
Okay, all right. Then I have no other questions.
All right.
I'm also here in support of the project.
And you're in support of the project? Okay.
Yeah, I was on the committee that wrote the guidelines. I used to sit on the Historic Preservation Commission, I guess.
Leslie?
And I'm a member of the, I live in Prospect.
Okay, that's,
Appreciate you.
that was all I needed to know.
Richard, you have your hand up.
Let me ask him to unmute. It takes half a second to.
There you go.
Yes, hi. Thanks so much. I'll try to be brief because I know the hour is late. Yes, I wrote in some of the comments about setback, general support of the project, and you know that the new design is sort of a vernacular style incorporating both the footprint of the gabled elk cottage that is currently there, plus craftsman style elements. I'm going to channel Chris Sturbaum in a way because normally I'm not a fan of demolition through neglect, but I'm somewhat more agnostic on this one because yes, these folks purchased it a long time ago, but it was long before, well, at least a few years before even our first conservation district came into being, which I think was first enacted in 2008. So it was already dilapidated property per Jeff Colden's assessment back in 1999. So what they were buying was something that at the time could have been considered a tear down. And so, they didn't buy it after we had already enacted guidelines that would have been, okay, you should have known better. It preceded that. And just given how long it's been in such a state of neglect, they would essentially be rebuilding the structure anyway. And given the fact that it is largely in the footprint, or the front part of it is in the footprint of the original and reflects that architectural structure, I am supportive of this. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. Leslie, comments?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo what Richard said, right? I mean, the biggest factor to me when I was thinking about it and talking to people about it is that we became a conservation district after the property was owned, and then we were elevated, and you saw, Jeff's letter, right? Through that whole process of getting elevated, and we decided to put these guidelines in place in order to, have people move into the neighborhood and restore the neighborhood and keep with the flow of the neighborhood. And the goal of the guidelines is to allow people to do exactly what the Weilers are trying to do, is make this livable again. And it's right on the frontage, right, the street frontage of our neighborhood. It's a good reflection of our neighborhood. Well, it isn't now, but it could be, right? It will be. So I think that's part of why I'm supportive too, and trust that they're taking, the project's very thorough, right? They put in a lot of evidence and looked through it. So I appreciate that they're taking good care of the project too. So I'm in support.
Thank you. All right. Any other comments?
Oh, we have questions from Chris?
Questions?
No questions.
Okay, comments? Kirsten, Sam, Daniel?
I just want to say thank you for all your efforts, with at least doing the roof as much, but, and then all your thoughtfulness behind. When I read this in the packet, it was definitely a lot of thought went into this, so I just wanted to acknowledge that.
We're excited.
Matthew?
Yeah, I mean, I was sitting here because I took someone to a great deal of task over demolition by neglect quite a while back.
Yes.
And I was trying to figure out if I'm being consistent here. And I do think that there is a big difference between this case and that case, for all the reasons that have just been said. And in fact, I'm impressed that you worked on the roof when this was apparently a buy one, get a vernacular collapsing crosswind cottage free. And so that all makes sense, and I like the design of the new house, and I have no trouble supporting this at all.
Chris?
I pretty much agree.
Okay.
We have,
Yeah.
I think, Eric Spoonmore also, let me ask to unmute as well.
We have one.
Oh, Eric.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Eric Spoonmore, President of the Greater Bloomington Chamber of Commerce. Thanks for all your work on this stuff. I had a lengthy letter that I wanted to read into the record tonight, but it looks like the direction of this is going positively, and that you agree with my support of this project as well too. We think this is a really important project, and appreciate Don and Lisa Weiler's application for doing this. That we really do believe that it's going to enhance the area, our community. It provides more housing options that we know is desperately needed in the community, and it's going to help with jobs too. So those are all things that the chamber is very much concerned with. Mr. Weiler is a very well-known, respected builder in the community. He's going to take pride in this project, and so I hope you all will support it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Karen, sorry.
No, it's okay. He asked me.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay, so my only comment is I would support this as well, what the Weilers want to do with this. So in saying that, we need a motion.
Move to approve COA 23-80.
Second.
Okay. That is, we understand we're approving the demolition and construction of the new project.
Correct.
Okay, very good. Cool. D?
Do we have to read the thing?
Daniel
No,
Schlegel,
we don't have to.
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Matthew Seddon,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Bernard Cross,
Yes.
Okay.
motion carried.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So we have one left on our agenda. And I know Daniel's got to get going. But if we could get this one out of the way, it's a Garden Farm Historic District and it's doing the fencing. Do you have enough time, Daniel? Shed, fencing, do you have enough time?
Yeah,
Okay.
this one looks like it should be an easy one.
Yeah, well.
Oh my God. 5 hours later.
Let's do like the Romans.
All with 4 parts.
I wanna see every fence.
Yeah, so, you're right.
So,
Go ahead, Gloria.
yeah, so for COA 23-81, the petitioner Steve White for Bloomington Restorations Inc. is requesting a new fence and a shed. So staff comments the following. Farmsteads have historically consisted of a combination of the main house accompanied by accessory structures and gardens and other types of, farm existence. Staff believes that the proposed accessory structure would not compete in size, scale, or location with the existing house. And actually it's houses because it's going to be located between the main house and the smaller house cottage. So the proposed fence would not negatively impact the historic district either. So there's quite a bit of information here. The shed would have a mini split air conditioner and heater. And the lean-to shed, sorry. So yeah, so there's a bit more information here that the petitioner that Steve submitted this afternoon with some images for how the yard would look and a more detailed plan with the location of the studio shed. So the rental house is here, the main house would be to the right, and this has the size of the location of the proposed flower studio with the fenced in area. And so these are photos of how it looks like right now. This is the rough location between the two buildings. And the type of materials that would be used for the deer fence and for the shed. The shed would be using a new mini split air conditioner, but everything else would be, well, not everything, but the fenestrations would mostly be recycled. And I had the plans. The actual drawings of the shed are in the packet, and I, for some reason, either accidentally erased them or eliminated them from the presentation, but I can pull them up if needed. Yeah, staff recommends approval of COA 23-81.
Okay, thank you, Gloria. Kristen, any comments, questions? I'm sorry, what questions?
No.
Sam?
No.
Bernard?
No.
Daniel?
No.
No. No. Okay. Anybody back here?
Just that, we look forward to return gardening to that area between the houses, which was done in the past by the original family that owned the property. And we had volunteer gardening in the area there in the past, and the volunteers got tired of it. So this is a person who has a successful cut flower operation in the McDowell neighborhood, who wants to do it within the site between the two houses. So we think it's going to really beautify the homestead.
Thank you, Steve. All right. I have no questions. Do we have any comments? Christian? Sam?
Great project, well scaled, well executed.
Bernard?
I have a lot. No comments. I have a lot to say.
After having been visiting several times out there, I think this will be a great project, and I think he'll do well-researched and a good job on it, so I'm excited for it.
Thank you, Daniel. Matthew?
I had composed some comments in iambic pentameter, but I'll just go ahead because of Daniel.
Support. Karen?
Full disclosure, I'm on the board of Bloomington Restorations, but I do advise that you approve this project if I'm allowed to do that. And it fits in so beautifully with the history of the fact that there was actually flower farming there in the past. It's kind of surprising.
I'm in agreement with all my fellow commissioners. I think it's a great project and you have a great place out there. And we'll support this. So I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Dee?
Daniel Schlegel,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Matthew Seddon,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Renard Cross.
Yes.
All right, great. Motion carries. All right, Steve.
Thanks for
Okay.
Thanks, Daniel.
sticking it out.
So, we're gonna lose our quorum right now, but we don't have any other business other than what's coming up in the future.
Yes, so Daniel, as you walk out, just wanted to give a reminder that we will have November 10, we will have our retreat with Steve Wyatt at the Farmstead. You are all please let me know if you can make it.
Absolutely.
And what your food.
That's Friday, right?
Yes.
No.
Yes, so I'll be sending out kind of a quorum. I've already touched base with everybody, but I'm gonna need a reminder because things have been very hectic on my end. And the other is just a very quick Cascades update. Both Chris Durbam and I have been researching this. Chris has been working took us off, just compiling so much data. And so we've been going over this data, and he's been writing quite a bit as well, and helping with this. And we were going back and forth on the boundaries for quite a bit, but I think we're kind of settled on a working boundary for now. And so we're actually, gearing up for the staff report at our next meeting.
Very good.
So, and I
Very
think
good.
that's it.
Yes. So, thank you, everybody.